So here we are on Be Your Own Therapist. Very warm welcome to coming along and resonating with the title and thinking, yep, that's for me. Nice informal bunch of classes. Uh, a easygoing introduction to the mind. But what I like about it is that it's really hands-on. We can deal with whatever's been going on just recently and use that as our linkage to Dharma wisdom. So, the title, Be Your Own Therapist. So how do we be our own therapist? Is it even possible? And the Buddha actually said that we have everything within us right now that we need to become enlightened. Which is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing to know that we don't have to go out and buy something else. We have everything that we need within us right now. But the problem is we can't access it. We can't access our Dharma wisdom, um, or we're cut off from our innate good qualities, locked in some way, got residual habit patterns and all sorts of things. So it's very complex and tangled. So these classes really are about undoing those tangles bit by bit. And whether you've had a lot of Dharma study behind you, it still takes the effort to undo those tangles to apply it. If you've got no Dharma study behind you, that's fine as well. You've alighted in the right class, because the unique thing about this is that we can take our ordinary worldly problems and look at them from an extraordinary point of view. That's the thing. Look at them with new eyes and from a perspective of becoming completely liberated from the cycle, the ups and downs of cyclic existence, and the perspective of bringing forth all of our good qualities and becoming a fully awakened Buddha. So we're taking the biggest perspective there is and then looking at our ordinary life problems. And that's how we be our own therapist. So we'll start off with a little short meditation, uh, and then I'll open up the discussion to what's been happening with you this week, with your activities, actions, how we interact with others, with our communication, with our inner self-talk, uh, with our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, habitual responses. So all of that, how's it been going during the week? And then we'll have a look at those recurring themes as it relates to the 10 non-virtuous actions and the 10 virtuous activities, what we can do in their stead. So I forgot to get up my little screen there, but let's have a look. To be your own therapist, Buddha on the couch. This is us. This is us, our nascent Buddha potential right there. We have to bring forth. And let's start with our 9-round breathing meditation. And a really good way to start is first adjusting our posture and then adjusting our mind. So for the posture, it can be really simple. We just make sure our back is straight and then we relax our body. That's like the 2-point meditation posture. And the best way to make sure our back is straight isn't to kind of force it onto us, but to imagine that there is a fine thread of light that runs from the base of your spine up through your body and up to through the crown of your head. And feel that you're being gently pulled upwards from your crown, that the weight of your body is supported by this thread of light. So you might find that you just naturally sit back a little bit, your posture extends, becomes more symmetrical and aligned. Your head will just tilt forward slightly, tuck the chin in, relax the jaw, put a slight smile on your lips, rest the tongue on the upper palate behind the top teeth, and release any tension from around the eyes and the forehead. And then let your shoulders drop and let go of all of the tension of the day. And feel a wave of relaxation flow down from the crown of your head in the form of light. So very slow, gentle wave of light flowing down from your crown gently through your body. And as it reaches any parts where there's discomfort or tension, this light washes that tension away. And then gently bring your focus to the breath. And for the 9-round breathing, it's a fairly simple practice we do mostly in imagination. So it doesn't even matter if your nose is blocked or not. So first imagine breathing in through your right nostril, and you breathe in radiant, blissful, energized light. And this, as you breathe in through the right nostril, it flows through your whole body. And as you breathe out through the left nostril and feel that light, it pushes out all the inner darkness of negativity in the form of black smoke. So you breathe out through the left nostril, all of the disturbing emotions and doubts and worries and anxieties. So we do this 3 times, long, leisurely breaths. And then when you're ready, swapping the nostrils over. So this time breathing in through the left nostril, feel that blissful golden light flow through you, energize your whole body, make your body feel light and blissful. And as you breathe out through the right nostril, again pushing out all of the disturbing emotions, the hostility, the dissatisfaction, the boredom, the procrastination. Breathe it out in the form of black smoke and feel how good it is to release. So 3 times again through both through in through the left and out through the right, long leisurely breaths. And then for the final 3 breaths, breathing in through both nostrils, feel your whole body become energized, filled with light, every atom of your body radiant. And as you breathe out through both nostrils, breathe out even the very subtle negativities and problems. Feel that the smoke begins to become a bit thinner as you get down to those more subtle things. So 3 times through both nostrils. And then for just a few moments, sit with that feeling of your body feeling light and energized, your mind feeling spacious, relaxed, clear. Just breathing in and out, radiant clarity. And from this spaciousness, we can set our motivation. We can have the courage to look within and deal with our problems, not just for our benefit, because we have an effect in the world and we want to have the best effect. And in fact, not only can we be our own therapist, but we must be our own therapist so that we can become fully liberated from the cyclic existence, and so we can bring everyone along with us to liberation and enlightenment. And so then gently bring your focus back to the room, and I'll just get up the gallery view so I can see everybody. And we'll see how everyone's going this week. What have been the themes, the preoccupations? So we've kind of loosely been looking at the past week through the lens of body, speech, or mind. Activities that we've done that may have got us into trouble or been problematic. Ways that we communicate, how the themes have been going there, or the inner ones about our thoughts and feelings, what's been dominating our inner world. So has everyone been going? What do we have here? Has anyone had anything in particular that's happened that they've got stuck about that we can bring some Dharma wisdom to? You're all too shy to say anything. Barbara.
Yes. Well, my theme is a little bit like you referred to when the class started, just in terms of having a little bit of self-doubt. I moved 3/4 of the way cross country recently and left a life that I really knew well. I was very, very dialed in. I had friends. I just was dialed in. And I left all that to start a new life, which I did freely, and it's very exciting, and I'm happy to do it. What I'm finding, though, is stepping out. I haven't stepped out in a while in terms of getting to know people, joining things, going places where I know no one and stepping in. And my self-confidence hasn't plummeted, but it's at times a little bit shaky. So when you said that you were having some self-confidence things, and I'm not really worried about it, but it's just something that I really noticed that I haven't noticed in myself in a long time because I haven't needed to know it. It just hasn't been there.
Yeah, it's like when um we can think everything's going along fine, like you're thinking about the where you were previously, everything was kind of in the sweet spot and was working okay, and we do fall into the trap of thinking everything's all right, and then the circumstances change, and then we think, oh no, now everything's going wrong, or it's changed, or it's difficult, but actually that's just an indicator of our inner life. So our inner life, so much of us feeling okay depends on our circumstances being okay. We only actually know if we're okay when our circumstances change. And then we see, how is our mind now? Is it still calm, or is it like all thrown into turmoil? So I get caught by this quite often, and how I first noticed it, well, I volunteer here at Langri Tangpa Centre. It's a Buddhist centre. I spend so much of my time here, and everybody who comes to a Buddhist centre is on their very best behaviour. They're all trying to be really good, kind people. The moment they walk in, they're putting on their best selves, even if they're really agitated or cranky or whatever. You come in here and you feel better, and you try and practice some patience because all the surroundings kind of encourage that and help it. So here I am surrounded by all these people acting really well, really nicely, really patient and tolerant and everything. And so I think everything's going along sweet, everything's fine. But it's this fantasy land. It's not me that's great. It's all of my conditions that are fantastic. So um then, because I was on what do you call it, Social Security Centrelink. So every fortnight I have to go put in my form. And so luckily I have to go put in my form in this really downtrodden, socioeconomic, poor, violent neighborhood. And so you go to the office to put your form in and waiting in the queue, and everybody's angry, cranky, dirty, unwashed. All the furniture's bolted down so no one can throw it. And so then I go, now how's my mind? Now how do I feel? And it was the great leveler. It was so fantastic because it was like taking my inner temperature. When I could see, am I really all like tolerant and kind and patient and everything like I think I am, or not? So, I mean, it's probably not as extreme happening to you, Barbara, but it does indicate um, where how our circumstances can really support us, but we can't just rely on those circumstances for our happiness, because circumstances will always change, won't they? And then we're left with what's actually within us. So the fact that you're still here and positive shows you've got some inner fortitude and strength. Um, and you've got this really wonderful opportunity now of going out and making really quality friendships. Because most of us, we're thrown into work or family where we don't have much choice about who we spend our time with. So you can do some stealth dharma, I think, Barbara. So you can set your motivation, that everybody that you meet and speak to in the day, by making that connection with you, that they are relieved of all of their problems, that all of their inequalities come to the fore, that all of their sufferings and illnesses are completely dispersed, that uh, you know, just by merely thinking of you or seeing you or speaking to you, they are liberated from all sufferings and their causes and brought to a state of full enlightenment. And then go out and meet people.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that. I am taking the Bodhisattva class that is being taught by Venerable Lecton, who is just out of this world. And we had a class last night, and I really went out into the world today with those principles, really thinking of other people and thinking of them, that they were my mother, doing all of those things. And it was really pretty amazing, the responses.
Yeah.
And again, it's everything is new for me here. Absolutely everything is new. Aside from my family that is here, but they're gone for 3 weeks. So I am just like, okay, well, here's my chance. Get out
Yeah,
there.
it is. Yeah, it's like a clean slate. And this is fantastic. I mean, how many of us get this opportunity? That's why people go traveling, isn't it? To have a clean slate and get some inner space to put forward different version of us, to get some of that flexibility. So there is always this inner urge that we have that we can actually then develop into this bodhicitta attitude and altruistic attitude. And then, like normally we go out and we think, oh, we want to make friends or connections or have good relationships, but we just leave it on that level, which isn't enough. So, or we find something that we like doing together, cooking or gardening or crochet or whatever it is. And so we make friends that way and we just leave it on that level. But this way, what I call stealth dharma you can, if you set your motivation like that, I mean, that's why I wear bright clothes, because like I was talking to Michael before class, I've got this dress that's got cartoon figures on it, and I don't even know what the cartoon figures are, but every time I wear it, I'm really happy and they run up to me and talk to me. And so then that's my chance to make a connection with someone that's meaningful. I get to practice recognizing, and this is another human being who's just like me, who matters, who has thoughts and feelings and everything. And now we've made this connection and made that connection last all the way from here to enlightenment. And so, just by seeing me or being enthused or whatever, may have this positive effect. So you set that motivation, and then you go and do so-called ordinary things, but they're no longer ordinary. So then, I mean, everybody says go and join like a hobby group or something. And in a way, it's great because we've got to be doing something that we like doing. It's no good going and joining something that you hate because you're lonely. It's got to be something that you have an affinity to, that you'd like to do anyway. But don't leave it at that. Take it further and think, by doing this thing that I love, that gives me energy, may I be able to make these deep, meaningful connections, be a decent human being, watch my actions and my speech. And then when life happens, which it does, something happens, there's a disaster, there's a big change, there's a climate catastrophe, you're ready to help. You're primed. And then we get to act the bodhisattva actions, which we won't do if we're not pre-primed like that. So what are the things that you like doing, Barbara? You know?
Well, to be honest, I was really hoping that there would be a Dharma center here, especially an FPMT Dharma center, and there is not. The closest one is in Portland, which is 3 hours away. But again, that's why this online group, these Zoom classes, are invaluable for me.
Yeah.
I just cannot stress that enough. That's my connection to people that speak the same language.
Yeah,
And
and it's really important. It's so important to have that, isn't it? And that you put it so well, people who speak the same language, yes. And then from that basis, then we can go out into the world and practice, put it all into practice. And so yeah, if you start with, I mean, that's often why people volunteer or why they join land care groups or hobbies or something like that. They like the thing. They are hoping that they'll find people that speak the same language, have the same worldview, and that, yeah, connections can come. But you can be really proactive about that by setting that positive motivation, and then it just opens up all the channels. So you probably won't even need a Dharma group to go to in person. You
true,
can
I
find some
know.
real life humans.
I next week actually I'm going for a tour at a place called Healing Reins, REINS, which is equine therapy, and being a volunteer there. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I just think that will be I'm hoping that I'm a good fit for them and that they are a good fit for me. And I'm really
Oh,
optimistic that it will be.
yes.
Yeah, I'm really
That's
looking forward to that.
Yeah, so there's our one of our ex-directors does that too, volunteers at a place for equine therapy, and so it's so good for the horses. It's also, yeah, for disabled kids, but also for people with autism. It's an amazing healing experience. And I mean, it's not often that animals in the animal realm get to create positive karma either, and here they get to do this incredible help. So, to make enough merit to get out of the animal realm. But also, if you when you make friends with the horses, recite the Heart Sutra, recite the mantras into their ears, medicine Buddha mantras. Like, so we pat animals and we go, oh, there's the dear, dear, sweetie, sweetie, and we talk baby talk to them. Don't do it. Say the mantras, Om Gate Gate, Paragate, Sam Gate, Bodhi Soha, and blow in their ear and just do that. Forget about the baby talk. And they're kind of just going to look at you odd, but it's the imprints.
That's a great suggestion that, to be honest, I don't think I would have thought of had you not brought that up. I was thinking more of it benefiting the riders, that type of thing.
Yeah, but like your very presence can benefit. And that's something that we can do, especially with our pets. They help us live, don't they? So many of us wouldn't be alive today if we didn't have a love of our pets. Like, I know my cats have got me through really tough times because it's a relatively uncomplicated relationship. you know, like, oh gosh. So my furry friends, and I have a chat with them, and then I think, well, I'm getting all this benefit from them. How am I benefiting? What am I giving them in return? They're just wasting up all their good karma. So every morning, instead of going, oh, hello, I go, oh, hello, Shariputra. And then I try and remember to say mantras to him while I'm chatting. And when they're happy, say the mantras to them. So they associate the food with mantras and happiness with mantras. And then that's a way that we can really benefit them. And Geshe Zopa said this really amazing thing to me about it when one of our cats died, and I was so devastated. I mean, I didn't cry when my mother died, but I cried for months. Cat died. And and so he was saying when we say mantras to the animals, it's different than when we say mantras to humans because they don't have all the emotional baggage and kind of academic learning that sits back and goes, what does this mean? I'm not sure if this is going to work, la la la. They just hear it. And the mantra goes in straight all the way in into their animal mind and onto their subtle consciousness. Whereas with humans, we just hear it and we get stuck. It gets stuck in the middle and it doesn't make that profound impact. But with animals, it makes a profound impact. It's different. So don't underestimate the power of saying mantras or reading sutras to the animals. Fantastic. So Barbara, you're set. You can just make friends with the animals. But the equine therapy that is a fantastic area to get involved in. And so many of the autistic kids, that are in a way natural renunciates, have this incredible emotional intelligence, but it's so bombarded by all the words and the sounds and the sensations in the world that they can't use it. And so then when they're with animals and there's this direct wordless communication, um, finally there's a communication stream that works. So it's incredibly healing. Hmm. Oh, great. Well,
Thank you, Miffi. Thank you so much for all of that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I thought actually, since we're going through our kind of loosely tied to the activities of body, speech, and mind, I do have a slide about this that I will get up and share with you from, here we are, current slide. So here we are. When we're talking about physical actions, we are not just our body, and we are much more than our body. So it kind of goes both ways. And we hardly ever think about this when we're out in the world. So let's just look at the first few, how our body just represents us. So when we look at our physical form, actually, believe it or not, we're only 8% us. So when we look at all of the cells in our body, 8% of those cells are our DNA, are us. And the rest of those cells are other creatures. The little skin mites that make sure we don't suffocate, the little special version of the mites on our nose. The alcoholics, those mites get all agitated, and that's why you have a big red nose when you're alcoholic, because all the toxins come out of your nose, and the little mites on your nose get very, very upset. Your nose gets all shiny. We've got all the bacteria in our stomach. That means we can digest. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to get any sustenance. We've got all the different uh, what are they called, biomes in our ears, that mean that we can hear, that our ears are kept clean. All of this. So only 8% us. The rest of it is this huge community of tiny, minuscule creatures that keep us alive. So we're like condominiums. We think this is my body, but actually we're a walking condominium. And so I've put here who we are. We're a combination of consciousness and collaboration with others. And so even on a direct physical level, it's through the kindness of others, the kindness of other beings, all living harmoniously within our system, that keeps us alive. And so Lama Zopa Rinpoche said, when we bless our food before we eat, and we offer, for the benefit of all sentient beings, a Mahayana way of doing that is offering to all the beings in our body as a way of saying thank you, making connection. And when we become enlightened, may they be in our first circle of disciples, the great multitudes. So that kind of blows my mind, right? That our body isn't even us, for starters. And then when the image that we have of our body, it's like a map. So if we close our eyes, or we think of how we are, how we look, that's not our body, that's our image of our body. It's our map. And neurologically, most of the time, the mapping of our body matches our body. And so that's why when we're walking along and we're walking up and down stairs, we get the stairs. We don't trip over the stairs. If we do trip over the stairs, it's because there's a little disjunction happening there. But occasionally our body image and our body don't match, and that's called body dysmorphia. So as we begin to age, that happens. We think our body is this young, but actually it's many decades older. And so we end up doing things that we thought we could do in our 20s, and no, it's not going to work out. Generally, women have an idea that they're much fatter than they are. And generally, guys have an idea that they're much more buff than they actually are. So all the women's magazines have done countless studies about this. So it doesn't ever quite match. And then you get really serious things where if you have an accident and one of your limbs is amputated, you end up with like phantom limb syndrome, which we might have, so that's when you become aware that your body map hasn't adjusted to actually what's going on with the body. So body dysmorphia, another one for that is anorexia nervosa, where the body map feels huge and bloated, but actually you're a skeleton. And so it's not just that it's not just an intellectual thing that you've got wrong. It's really deep in our neurology, this disjunction, disharmony between the reality and our idea of the reality. But this can also be our ticket to enlightenment, because when we imagine all of the Buddhas and the deities, and we go through that process of purification and receiving light, and we arise as the Buddha, now we're replacing our ordinary person body map with the body map of a Buddha. So both of them are maps, right? Both of them are an idea of who we are. So why don't we get rid of the ordinary one, which is just an idea, and put in place a map of the Buddha over this form, and then go out and live our life. So, Barbara, whether you had a tantric initiation and arise as the deity, or whether we just do the Buddha meditation and arise as the Buddha and then live our life as the Buddha, it's actually not that far-fetched, because neurologically we are replacing one generic image with another generic image that is much more useful. So if you then go out and you pat the horses as a Buddha and you chat with the people as a Buddha, it's going to be wonderful. So that was one part of it, of just having a physical form. It can be profound, and right in there are all the seeds for transformation. And the whole purpose of being our own therapist for what? Not just so we're only a little bit unhappy in our life. We want to get rid of all unhappiness forever. What does that mean? Liberation and enlightenment. So our body represents us. And the other bit was that we represent others. So this also, it can be a bit scary, but it gives us back our power, because when we go out into the world, we might think, oh, it's just little old me, but actually we're representing whole sections of society. So Barbara, when you go out into the world, you're not just Barbara, you're representing everybody from your home state, you're representing all women, you're representing English speakers without even knowing it. You represent these whole sections of society, and we all do. So, we hear that cliche of oh, women drivers. So that's because we don't kind of recognize it. If you're a woman and you're driving, it's not just you. You're actually representing all women and all women drivers. And so what you do reflects on everybody. And rather than this being an imposition, this really gives us power, or it can help connect us with the power that we have. So if you're a parent, for instance, if you're a father, you're not just one father. To your kids, you represent all fathers. You represent fatherhood forever. So how they feel about you is how they will feel about all fathers. If if you remember back to school and you had a really good teacher, how we felt about our teachers represented all teachers, didn't it? And then we had one really good teacher, and that kind of, oh, okay. So here we are, when we go out, we represent society, and we have this incredible amount of power without even knowing it. So we can actually heal society by representing in a positive way. Because it's not just little old us. So I like to think, oh, when I go out, I represent all people with pink hair, and possibly depending on what era you come from, I might be trying to like put in a good word for the punks. Or I try and represent all ditzy birds, all crazy cat ladies. So what do you reckon about that, folks? So it's like how they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so they normally say that about our physical actions, isn't it? If we don't keep exercising, then we lose our fitness and things. But it's actually the same with our whole image, ourselves out in the world. If we don't use this power, we will become disconnected from it. And we actually have that power. And how many of us feel it? Most of us feel isolated, alienated, powerless, Stark, all of those things. But actually, it's because we don't recognize the power that we have. I mean, I'm quite tall as well, so I notice um, when I meet people physically, like I normally tower over everybody. And so right there is a whole lot of power that I don't recognize. See, on Zoom, it's great. We're all the same size and it's relatively unintimidating because we're all little. So, but if you saw me, you'd be going, oh my God. Yeah, Lucy. Lucy, how are you?
Hello. I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, how how would you sort of say like in dharmic principles to handle like relatives that you've just grown apart from? Like I have an aunt that I, from birth has known me, but I am so far different from her. Like we like her thoughts really irritate me
Mm,
because they are just like she's like they're just very negative. Like she's just a very negative person, yet she's a family member.
yeah.
And I don't really know how to, navigate because I want her in my life, but she create when I speak with her, she creates a whirlwind of emotions in me that I just don't know how to kind of use Dharma to like
Yep,
deal with
yeah.
her.
Yeah, so like Barbara was saying about hoping to find people that speak the same language. And so, maybe we find people like that in a Dharma center. And normally we hope with our family that we'll all speak the same language, but it's not necessarily the case. So we are bound together in a really strong way biologically, but it doesn't mean that the relationship has any depth. That's just something that we assume. So it's this weird experience of being very close to someone and having nothing in common with them. So what is the whole point of having relatives or close relatives is that there is a karmic responsibility that we have. They're close to us karmically, even if we're quite different people. And so we've got to figure out what's the karmic relationship that we have. So from the aunt's point of view, they knew you since you were a little kid, so they probably still think of you as a little kid. And that's just how it is. And our parents too. They knew us when we were little kids and they still think of us as little kids. And they probably have no idea what we're like as grown-ups. And they probably couldn't see how we're quite different as grown-ups. So already how your aunt sees you and how you see yourself is quite different. So probably it might be worth just thinking, well, I may not personally get anything out of this relationship, but nevertheless, karmically, we've been thrown together. There is a responsibility that we have to each other. We're already karmically entangled. So, number one, let's not make it worse. So, from your side, you can not make it worse, even if she's quite negative. Um, And the other thing is, so especially for our elders, I suppose, like as they go from a position of authority to a position of vulnerability. And us as relatives, but also as Dharma practitioners, we have to be ready to be there to help. So when their life goes into disarray, um, we still have our warm-heartedness to be able to give some Dharma wisdom, to support them, to connect them with all of their good heartedness, to encourage them, calm them down, all of those things. I mean, that's basically why you're there with relatives, isn't it? Because we have this closeness and we're probably the ones that'll visit them in the hospital. So we've got to make that not ordinary. We've got to make that mean something and have a long-term effect. So it might be the only reason that we would have anything to do with our relatives is when they die. That's okay too, because wow, imagine if you have a Dharma practitioner in your family, then you know they're the one that's going to be visiting everybody when they're dying and make sure they have a good death and a good future rebirth.
I
So yeah,
suppose
Lucy.
I suppose like one of the things that I'm trying to use Dharma with is like she's very fear-based. So, if I share, it's not support. Like if I tell her, oh, I'm going to visit this country or I want to move to this country, she's very fear-based and like, it's automatic with the negativity. So it's like she's a very generous aunt, but I feel like because we're just such different people, I don't want to share because I feel like when I share, it's going to be negative.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you're not speaking the same language. So you probably you would only want to you might want to pre-prepare what you share with her. And certainly don't share anything that is fresh and new and vulnerable. Like if you have a new idea, don't share that. Or if you've got um if you want to go overseas and you're super excited planning it, don't share that either. Just share the ready-made, well-baked, strong things.
Got it.
So it's kind of like rather than have the relationship because you need something, you think I'm going to have the relationship to contribute to her life. And so when you share something and she has the fearful response, often often one of the best responses is to just fall into humor, fall into absurdism or crack a joke or lighten it up rather than get tight in response.
Yes, I have
Because
done that.
that kind of habit of fearfulness, it's terribly hard to break. And so you could be the one where when she has a chat with you, a conversation with you, she actually gets to relax or she gets to see the funny side.
Thank you.
So give it a go. And maybe next week we can delve into communication like this because we've got some of the different ways that we communicate, that we have our speech habit patterns. And many of these things, this internal dialogue and then the way that we communicate, the destructive ways of communicating, they're pretty much just the the momentum of habit. What elicited the fear in the beginning is long gone, and now it's just habit that perpetuates it. And that's so difficult to break. So
Yeah.
even if we can be the one puts a spanner in the works and stops the cycle of fearful habit just for a few moments, that kind of respite that you can offer someone, that's amazing. So you could I my go-to sentence is what would the Dalai Lama say?
hmm
Or maybe you could think, well, what would the Dalai Lama say? What would Billy Connolly say? Or what would, some of your favorite comedians that have some insight in life, what would they say? Just to get a different view of the situation. So maybe you've got to find out what kind of comedy she likes.
Yes. Yes, I know. I just get so caught up in my own mind that I go from like 0 to 10 so quickly in frustration with her
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's right. But
she like we're so
Lucy,
different.
why? Um, so that's interesting because that from 0 to 10 with frustration, now that's your side of the karmic equation. And
hmm
so your job is to sit with that frustration without trying to make it go away. So you have the frustration. When the frustration happens with me, it's like a sound. It goes,
hmm
like cicadas. And so
Mhm,
then it comes up like a wave. And so you've just
mhm.
got to sit in that wave and let that wave come up and wash over you without doing anything about it. And I guarantee you that wave will naturally subside. And if you do it without fighting against it, if you just sit with that and go in a way like bring it on, and you feel that frustration arise and you don't push against it, you just sit with it. I guarantee you within 90 seconds, it will be gone.
It does go away. I
Yeah,
just, it's
that's
just
how to
that
do it though.
it's just every time we talk, she ceases to just frustrate me because she will say something that will be hypersensitive to me, or that will offend me, or that is just so insensitive to say. It's like she doesn't edit or curate what she says, although I have
Yeah.
spoken to her and said, I don't want to hear negative things. I don't want to hear gossip because I'm practicing, and
Yeah,
she is
that's
the
right.
person that comes at me with family gossip that I don't want to participate in. And she just does not respect my boundary on that.
No. No, and you can't make her and she never will. So you've got to respect your boundaries. So you've got to pre-prepare when you go and see her, pre-prepare. Think, what am I going to do when this happens? And then you think of your visits there as like going to the gym. You're going to a training session.
I don't see her
And
actually. We live in different countries, which is,
oh, that,
you know,
that that's even better. Then you can make an appointment.
so she calls. I don't call that often, but she likes to keep in touch and connected. And this is it. Like, she just loves to gossip, and I don't want to
Yeah,
participate
yeah.
in that.
That's right. So one step at a time. So the first one, you can ring her up, give her a fright. Because that's where someone rings, they're needy, right? So if you preempt that and you ring them, they go, wow, they thought about me. So already
Yeah.
they're feeling better. And then when you feel your frustration coming up, you sit with it and you time it for 90 seconds. Don't try and do anything about it. You just let
Mhm.
it come up, let it wash over you, and naturally subside, and then think of your response. So, Lucy, that's your homework for the day.
Thank you.
And now we've got just a few minutes. I like to finish with this meditation, the Om Ahum meditation, because it's a way that we can take everything that we've discussed tonight, and um, turn it into an experience that we can take with us. So this is Lama Yeshe's meditation on purification, purifying body, speech, and mind. So, we talked a little bit about representing, going out into the world, and how it doesn't have to be ordinary. It can be profound for us, but also for others. And we talked a little bit about speech and how just a few words can really affect us, but also our speech, just a few words can affect others. So this meditation is a way of purifying all of that, cleansing it, bringing our energy back so that we can, act and speak effectively, kindly. So again, let's just settle our posture. Allow your spine to become aligned and fairly straight. Let your shoulders drop. Bring your focus inwards and imagine that the inside of your body is all space. So you have your body is like an outer shell, inside of your body quite spacious. And in the center of your brain is a white syllable Om, three-dimensional, a glowing, brilliant white. In the center of your throat is a red syllable Ah, also three-dimensional, like neon lights, but very soft, radiant. And at the level of your heart, there in the center of your chest, a blue syllable Hum. So feel these 3 syllables. They are actually the seeds of enlightened body, speech, and mind. They're there naturally. Bring your focus to the white Om in the center of your head. And recognize the Om is the pure divine energy of all the form of the Buddhas. So it's the seat of our senses. It's the divine energy of pure form. And as we chant the syllable Om, so you chant in your own time, just try and make it continuous, feel the resonance of that sound in your body. And as you do, feel that that Om radiates incredible, blissful white light that fills your whole body and purifies your body. Om. 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 Feel the resonance of the Om resonating with every atom of your body that's glowing with the white, blissful, enlightened energy. Like a great tuning fork, harmonizing your physical form with enlightened form. Feel every atom radiant, all the negativities of the body purified, all the illnesses dissolved in that radiance. And then moving your focus to the throat, the red R, radiating like the sun at sunset. And recognize that this red R is the pure speech of all the Buddhas. And as we chant the syllable R, it purifies your speech, your inner self-talk, the way you frame the world, all distorted conceptions, all negative speech is completely purified in that resonance of the syllable R. And red light fills your entire body, radiating out from the syllable at your throat. Ah. 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 And as you're chanting the syllable ah, feel your whole throat expand and become open. This, as you continue to chant the syllable ah, this sound actually it activates our vagus nerve. It changes our whole physiology in our body. Ah. 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 Again, feel your whole body radiant, red, harmonized with enlightened speech, vibrating with enlightened speech. And now gently shift your awareness to the blue hum at the heart. Try and feel that you are the blue hum, that's your perspective now. You're not looking down at it, but you're in the middle of it. And recognize that this blue hum is the non-dual wisdom of all the Buddhas. The blue, like deep, unobstructed space. And as we chant the syllable hum, all your narrow, obsessive thoughts disappear in that spaciousness. All the indecisive minds disappear. Obsessions disappear. And the radiant blue fills your whole body, your whole being. And feel that infinite blue, like your consciousness, embrace entire universal reality. Om. 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 And continue to hear that sound in your mind, like the humming sound of the entire universe. Feel your mind illuminated, spacious, without limit, an intensive awareness of universal reality. And then still with that awareness of that inner sound, become aware again of the 3 syllables there, radiant within your body, these seeds of enlightened body, speech, and mind that are always there, and dedicate all the merits, the energy of tonight's discussion to being able to bring forth all of those qualities to whatever we do in the coming week and in the rest of our life. We do from this perspective of enlightened body, speech, and mind, and feel that these 3 syllables will guide us and direct us in that way, and dedicate all of our efforts for our complete liberation, and so we can bring forth all of our good qualities, become enlightened or awake, and lead everyone out of suffering. So have a wonderful rest of the week, and hope to see you again. And Lucy, come back and let's continue with some we'll talk about some of the activities of speech and really start untangling your experience, and give you something juicy to work on. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along, and really nice to meet you. And yes, Fernando, were you waving hi, bye?
No, I was willing to say that even if you're gossiping, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to say, by doing the purification of the speech, whatever you say, even if it's gossip, it becomes Dharma. So it's a great way to transform gossip into Dharma.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. The speech blessing, which is fantastic. Don't leave home without it.
Thank you.
See everyone. Take care. Bye.